The gloss and glamour of faraway travel has always held a special place in our hearts, with hundreds of thousands of people spending huge amounts of money to visit some of the world's rarest and most naturally wondrous places. But through all of that, some of us might wonder, why don't people ever visit the single most remote place on Earth? We're talking, of course, about the white continent itself, Antarctica. Well, good news, guys, not only is it possible, but it is one of the most desirable traveling retreats in the world. And we're here to tell you all about it. Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing great as we're back again with another video. In today's video, we'll be revealing the exact specifics of this mind-blowing and literally numbing trip, and we'll try to answer the question of just why it is so expensive to travel there. Before we move any further, I'd like to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the notification bell so that you're reminded whenever we make any new videos. With that done, let's get into the video. Part of the glamour of Antarctica is that it is one of the few places on this planet still largely uninhabited, with a maximum of 4,000 people on the whole continent, and even that on a good summer, with it regularly dropping to below 1,000 people. And this is part of the reason why people are so attracted to the mysterious land. Now, there are millions of reasons why so many people would like to visit this place, and perhaps the most obvious is the sheer natural beauty of the place. With perfectly clear skies, humongous blue and white glaciers, giant whales and exotic wildlife, and a general aura of calm as well as ancient wonder, it's no secret that we'd like to visit the place. And so we would wonder why the place is not on everyone's travel bucket list. Well, as it turns out, with the most barebones package costing a whopping $8,000, the cost might be the reason. And here are some of the reasons why it is so expensive to travel to the mysterious white land. It is very, very cold. The very vision of Antarctica is that of pure chilling cold, and as a result the winters there are extremely cold, so much so that even scientific expeditions, let alone leisure cruises, can have a hard time getting there. Plus, Antarctic winters are actually in the form of month-long nights, so traveling is only available in special summer months, those being late November to February, according to Southern Hemisphere seasons. And so due to this short window, it gets hard to properly plan and travel. There are many options. Like a lot of other specialty trips, this one comes with a specific schedule of locations, called an itinerary, and with so much on the line, there is a lot you can do with it. You can start from Chile or Argentina, and even from Buenos Aires, and after that fly to the mainland or take the long sea voyage across the Drake's Passage, the part of the sea separating South America from mainland Antarctica. After that there are the detours. As you can imagine, a straightforward trip is not something people would like to settle down on, so detours like southern Georgia and the Falkland Islands are very popular. All of this ends up increasing the price even more. It takes a long time. With such a complicated plan, you can imagine the travel won't be short either, with just the first crossing to the mainland taking over a day and a half. It gets pretty long very fast. And well, that seems to be the case as the shortest ones are done in 8 days and the longest ones can take up to 3 whole weeks of deep wilderness exploration. And with nothing coming cheap, let alone free, each added day costs more and more. Lots of stations? There is also the matter of where you chose to stop, as a simple flyby is not what people desire. Some trips make do by only taking you near the coastline, while others take you to shore and allow exploration much closer. These obviously require time, more expertise, higher insurance and as a result, more costs, which explains why some of the bigger trips can get so expensive. So much to do. Not only as a high-level trip, but also as one of the most special ones, people desire to perform many activities on what will be quite a memorable time. There are activities like paddle boarding, kayaking, and even an overnight camp in the snow if you are brave enough for it. As the environment is perfect to experience true wilderness, many tourists end up taking part in some, if not a great deal of them. There are also what they call the Zodiac Trips, which are small paddle or motorboat excursions into the waters, to take you up close and personal with nature. And yet again, this demands equipment, time, and personnel, so it gets pretty expensive. Home and board. Despite the trip's deeply exploratory nature, it is no surprise that the travelers don't desire to live like the ancient explorers. Instead, As they're paying such a huge sum, they want to spend their time in comfort, care and with good food to boot. The rooms on the traveling vessels are pretty shocking, as they can have private balconies, multiple room suites, and even heated saunas, all of which caters to the richest of the rich. The food is also impressive, with 3-course meals, fine wines as well as anything the guests would want, and as a result, this 5-star experience comes at a 5-star price. You need the best of the best. As most of you can guess, traveling through the cold and at times very dangerous waters of the South Pole is no small task. Military-grade ships, highly trained crew and special provisions are needed, and as such this very special equipment and their respective operators hike up the cost a considerable bit. And not to mention that the amount of crew on these expeditions is also immense, with crew-to-passenger ratio being as high as 3 to 4, and so the pay alone gets a significant amount of money. The supply and demand principle. Coming to the end of the list, most of you guys will probably have heard of this famous economic rule, which says that the higher the demand and lower the supply, the more expensive a thing gets. And the same is true for Antarctica trips. The demand, which might not look too large, but compared to the supply it gets pretty huge. As the supply is very limited for a number of reasons. Prime among them is the permit issue, that only a few companies have permits to take people out there, and even then there is a limit on how many people can be taken there. The waiting list gets pretty long. And as a result, the cost gets larger as well. Now that should give you a pretty decent idea of why it is so expensive, but the question has to be asked, could it really be worth it? Well guys, according to us, if you truly desire to explore the most remote areas and have a time filled with wonder and surprise, there is really no other thing like it, and as almost every person who makes the trip says, it is definitely worth it. That was all for today guys, hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you did, as always, be sure to leave a like down below and leave a comment telling us what do you think, could this trip be worth it? Be sure to tell us below, as we'd love to hear your thoughts. Now it's time to wrap up the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.